The Marino Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Marino Show. I'm your host, David Marino. And today I'm speaking with writer-director Kris Bell. He's making a new horror film called What Dwells Beneath. He's also the host of The Creature Corner. We're going to get all into that. But Kris, thank you so much for being with me today.
Dan, David, thanks so much for having me, man. I am super pumped to be on the show. Blake Best, a mutual friend of ours, kind of put us in contact, and I'm super glad he did. Thank you, Blake.
And I have to tell you, you have one of my favorite backgrounds of any guest I've interviewed right now. I absolutely love your background.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. You can tell that you're a true horror film lover, and I love everything about that. But let's talk about your film, What Dwells Beneath. I know you're in the early stages of getting that going, but tell our viewers what you're working on and how this project sort of came about, or the idea came about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea, I guess I'll start from that. The idea kind of came about from my fiance and myself really enjoy going to abandoned places and, urban exploration type deals where something that's been lost and abandoned and forgotten, we like to go see and investigate, check everything out, and little time capsules and things like that. And one day we came across this place that was actually an abandoned tourist attraction from 1912, which is what the cave itself is attached to. So the location that we're filming was an actual tourist attraction at one point in time. And it is an actual cave. It is a very, very much an actual cave that we're filming in. The set itself goes probably a mile back into the cave. So all of this right now with the Indiegogo that we're putting out there, it's a lot to kind of, get moving and to get that momentum, to build a budget, to be able to bring something to life in that space, because we don't have a sound stage, we don't have all that. We're literally in a hole in the ground filming all of this. So for me, it would have been way too big of a project to kind of bring on by myself. So I was able to kind of collaborate with a lot of just the best cast and crew that I could have asked to have. And just the first time I saw the cave, when my fiance and myself went there, I just knew I had to do something there. I was like, it's too good of a location to not film something there. So I've never really done film before. I've never really produced a feature length or, micro feature film. Most of my dwellings are in the arena of, shorts and little skits and bits and stuff like that. So this is definitely a big project that I'm excited to take on.
What's the film actually about?
So the film follows a group of urban explorers who are working on kind of a YouTube series for themselves. They're putting their videos out to the world. They stumble upon this abandoned cave, venture inside, and inevitably awaken something that definitely should have never been disturbed.
Oh, welcome. My name is Kris Bell, and I'm here to take you on a journey into the darkness. A journey into the depths of the human psyche and the ancient terrors that lie dormant beneath our feet. I present to you a film that will grip your very senses and send shivers down your spine. What Dwells Beneath. Our story follows a group of urban explorers, people fascinated by forgotten worlds, hidden secrets, and the allure of the unknown. However, their insatiable curiosity leads them to a place they could only imagine in their wildest nightmares. What Dwells Beneath is not just your run-of-the-mill horror film. It delves into the works of H.P. Lovecraft, drawing inspiration from his macabre stories and cosmic horrors. Our team has poured their heart and soul into creating an atmospheric experience that will haunt your nightmares. Every element of this film has been meticulously designed to immerse you in a world of true terror. So visit our Indiegogo campaign, contribute, and help us spread the word. Together, we can delve into the darkness, face our fears, and uncover the truth of what dwells beneath.
What kind of pushed you to take that step to actually do a film? I talked to many indie filmmakers. I know there's a lot of work and a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears that go into making a film. What was it that finally kind of went off in you where you were like, you know what, it's time for me to do this?
Yeah. So I have been working on, like I said, we've been doing the shorts and stuff. I've done several commercials, some larger productions as far as like size of cast and crew goes. So I really started just wanting to try my hand at it and go for it. It's something that I've always been passionate about doing, just creating content and making, writing scripts, whether it be for the little skits and shorts and stuff like that, or developing scripts for other people. I've just always really enjoyed it. And I finally, I guess, told myself that if you're going to do it, just do it. Just make it happen, make your own lane and do it. So I kicked myself in the butt. My fiance told me, you better get on this if you're going to do it. And I wrote a script out in about 2 weeks. I think I had written the script in, and right now we're fully cast. We have all the cast and crew booked, and yeah, we just got to make that budget so that we can bring the whole thing to life.
And I have to imagine for you, it's pretty exciting to, with the hope of seeing your words come to life on screen, right?
Oh yeah, it's very, very exciting.
When you went about the casting process, you're based in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. What was that like for you? Because I know a lot of filmmakers, that's a really obviously important part of the process, because in your mind, as the person who wrote it, you probably have some pretty firm ideas of how you see these characters. What has that process been like for you in the casting?
So the casting was a lot of fun. Actually, I did most of it on my own. I collaborated with my AD, Tyler Broadway, a little bit, and some of the other cast and crew, some of the other crew members, just to get some second opinions on things. But for the most part, I did the casting on my own, and we had so many great auditions. Like, I had people sending in different self-tape auditions and things like that, and we had so many good ones. Like, I really couldn't tell you a bad one that we had. And it made it a really difficult decision. And I did have some very specific ideas in mind for how I wanted some of the characters to look, and other characters I kind of just had no expectations whatsoever as far as, who I was going to put in that role. I just wanted to see who, when I saw them, I knew that that was the person I needed to go with. So I'm definitely pumped on the people that we've booked for it. It's a fairly small cast. There's more crew members than there is cast members, but I think we've got some of the best people in the area on the project.
When for you in your life, I mean, I know today you're doing your show. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, the Creature Corner, and then you're making this film and you've done other shorts. But when did you start getting involved in, film and really just creating content that you want to put out into the world that is sort of horror related?
Sure. So I spent years now. I've spent years now as a stand-up comedian. So that for me kind of I've always loved making movies. Like even when we were in like middle school, high school, me and my friends would get together and make stupid little, 5 minute long, 10 minute long videos that are god awful that no one should ever see. But you got to start somewhere, right? Um, so for me, it was something that I always enjoyed doing. I've spent a short period of time as a independent professional wrestler and then got into stand up, which led me to emceeing large events. And my largest event that I got into emceeing was CreepyCon here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So CreepyCon is a 3-day Halloween and horror convention that I now for 6 years have been the host and MC of. So it allowed me to take my love of horror that I've had from a very young age and finally gave me a platform to play around with it and use my love of humor and my love of horror to kind of create this stage persona that was this hyperactive, chaotic goblin called the Grand Duke of Spook. So he really has allowed me to delve into my horror, my love of horror, and he's opened a lot of doors for me in the horror industry. And I've gotten to meet so many wonderful people doing this that it just further drove my love of horror. And I want to kind of give back now in a sense to the genre that I love so much and take a crack at it for myself and put my mark on it. And the film itself is very much based in the Lovecraftian cosmic horror genre of things. So that's something, if you're a fan of kind of the very trippy psychological horror plus monsters, because I've always wanted to make a creature feature. So I just took a lot of the elements that I really love and were like, why not cram them into one movie?
Is there anybody that has inspired you as a filmmaker or director? Any kind of films that you've looked at and thought, oh, that would be somebody that I would love to either emulate or they've been an inspiration on, just what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I really love, and I'll probably get some flack for this, but I really love the films of Rob Zombie. I like his directorial style and his drive. Huge fan of that. Someone that I very much look up to in the film industry is Tom Woodruff Jr., who is a creature effects artist and puppeteer for a lot of different. He's done things like Pumpkinhead and the Monster Squad and tons and tons and tons. If you look up Tom Woodruff Jr., it's amazing the things he's done. And then for more local or I guess indie directors, a gentleman named Josh Hasty has also really been a very good friend of mine and a good inspiration. He made a film called Candy Corn a few years ago, and watching him go through the process of getting it made and all the windfalls that he went through trying to get it made, it just really showed me that persistence is the name of the game. You're going to have things that happen, you're going to stumble, but it's whether or not you let that completely stop you or not.
So the horror genre is very broad. That's what I love about it, is that if you are a fan of horror, there's so much to pick from. You can love the campy 80s films, you can love the Saws, you can love the Rob Zombies. Growing up, was there a certain kind of part of the genre that you gravitated to?
definitely monster movies. Anything that had a giant monster in it or some crazy monster from another dimension and world in it, I was enthralled by it. I wasn't so much always afraid of the more realistic things when I was younger, because I was monsters were a much scarier thing to me when I was a child versus the real world stuff. And I guess it's flip-flop for me now that I just love monsters because I grew up with them. And I think that's what really drove me now to want to make a movie where I've created my own monsters and watch them come to life.
As far as your show, The Creature Corner, what exactly do you put on that show? What kind of content do you put out?
So we started as a celebrity interview show around 2020 when everything was shutting down. And originally, a lot of people were looking to do PR for movies and things like that. And there was nowhere to go. So they fled to the podcasters. And that kind of opened me up to be able to get listeners in because of the celebrity names, but then talk about the things that I wanted to talk about, which were monsters and cryptids and different monster movies. And now the Creature Corner has become more a show where I do basically what I want with the horror genre. I do small cryptid mockumentaries where I'll retell the stories of cryptids, their backstories and things like that. But I'll also do complete mock reenactments as myself and as the different characters in the story of the cryptid. I'll build my own cryptids a lot of times to use in the videos. And then here, as of recent, we've turned back into kind of an interview style show, but more so I bring on the indie people. I bring on the independent directors and filmmakers and things like that, and berate them with questions and ridiculous noises that interrupt them. And then I make them play games and all kinds of stuff. It's chaos at this point.
That's awesome. I need to check that out. That's really cool. So being part of the indie world, what about the indie world to you is, the best part of it?
Yeah, it's honestly the community. There's so much every thing that you do in life has clicks, and there's people that are all about themselves, but there's also always at least a group of people that are trying to not compete with each other, but help each other grow, and that sense of community is what I've really found in independent filmmaking. The people that aren't interested in just being cutthroat and, finding out who's the best, but the people that say, hey, I see you're trying to do this. Do you need any help? I have August Aguilar, who does the Strange Films stuff. I love August. He's a great guy. And August has helped me a lot through the crowdfunding process and getting that set up, because I had no idea where to go, what to do. And I know August has, dealt with that. And instead of him just being like, I don't know, figure it out, I reached out to him. He had no problem helping me. The people that are in the community that I'm working with, my sound guy, Brian, my AD, Tyler, my cameraman, David, it's just like, these are all people that I can build with exponentially and create something really incredible. People think sometimes too that with filmmaking, it's a lot of glitz and glamour and moolah, but a lot of this you're doing solely out of the fact that you love doing it. And that whole pitch video, that involved me and Brian and Tyler all finding some time to go back out to this cave and set up a whole shoot, just, out of the kindness of their hearts at this point, because that's all I have to offer is.
So you've interviewed, several people, including celebrities. You, as you mentioned, you host the 3-day convention. And
yes.
Is there anyone or any kind of advice that's been given to you that has really stood out? That could be from a celebrity or just somebody in that world that really kind of stays with you every day as you, whether you're interviewing people or working through the film industry? Is there someone that's really kind of giving you some good direction?
Yeah. I've had quite a few people give me some great advice moving into the wheelhouse that I have. And I think one of the best pieces of advice that it's not the first time I've gotten this advice. I get this advice from multiple people to just go for it. I mean, I know it sounds cliche to say, don't care what other people think and da 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 da, but realistically, just going for it. And you don't be afraid to ask those questions. Don't be afraid to ask this person. Like, if you think, oh, they're too big for me, they're too big time for me, maybe not. That's literally how I got half the celebrity interviews I ever did. Was, here's 40 emails that I sent to people, and here's the 2 that answered me. But you got those 2. All they can say is no. Just ask. Just put it out there. Go for it. Don't worry about your equipment, having the nicest stuff, the best stuff, the most followers, the blah, blah, blah. If you're not having fun doing it, what's the point in doing it?
With this being your first sort of, like you said, micro feature, do you have any, ideas of what you'd like to do moving forward, whether that's even in the horror genre or something different? Is there something that you'd really like to do that, one day you're thinking, yeah, after I kind of go through this initial getting my feet wet, I want to go this way?
Oh, definitely. I plan on this first one just being the start. I want to make more films. I want to act in more films. I want to work on both sides of the camera and do everything I can do. I love being on stage with the live events and things like that. And this year I'm actually going to be able to take my interview style show live to the stage on CreepyCon. So all the guests and things that we have at CreepyCon this year, I get to bring them up on stage, do a live interview style show with my ridiculous games and all this. And I honestly, at this point, just want to see how big we can go with it. There's no reason to limit where we're going to go. Let's see how big we can go.
I have to ask because usually, not all the time, but usually people are either behind the camera. They like to stay behind, like your directors that don't want to be anywhere in front of it.
Right.
Writers as well. But you are able to do both, right?
Yes.
Is that a challenge when you're making a film that you're the writer, the director, but you can also be on camera? I mean, because you can do all of it, do you feel like that's limiting in any way, or do you feel like that's actually something that helps you with the craft?
Honestly, I would say it would be much more daunting if I was doing it on my own. If I was solely because I am playing one of the parts in the film that I'm doing. And that's why I do have an assistant director, Tyler Broadway, who I trust wholly. Like, basically any time that my character is on screen doing something, I know I have someone behind the camera that has a similar vision in mind with me. We're copacetic in that, and he's not going to let anything go that I would. So I also then, when I'm not on screen, can then take over the role of looking at it, and it should be a fairly seamless transition in those two things, and in our directorial style and the overall vision for the project. So I guess if I was doing it all on my own, if I was trying to direct scenes that I was also acting in at the time, that would get a little muddled because, one is lacking at that point. You're either not putting your all into the character, or you're not putting your all into, watching the scene.
So you love monster films. For those out there that are looking for some good monster films to watch, what would be like your recommended, putting you on the spot here, maybe your top three?
Yes, my top three. Well, my number one is always Pumpkinhead. I love Pumpkinhead. That movie is hilarious and awesome. It's just, I love everything about that movie. Abbott and Costello Meet the Monsters is another. I really love that whole flick. It incorporates, all the classic monsters. And then number three, probably have to go with Godzilla, King of the Monsters, or Kill All Monsters. Sorry.
And I can't believe I didn't ask this. We're talking about monsters, your love for monsters, and the fact that this film will have monsters. I know you probably don't want to give too much away, but in terms of like the monsters for this film, what is that going to kind of entail? Is it going to be more makeup, or is it going to be, I mean, what are you thinking?
So we have, I believe we have 6 different types of monster that our team is going to encounter in the cave. And these range from actors in bodysuits, in large costumed bodysuits, to small puppeteered items and things like that. So everything will be manned and a person piloted. So whether it be a puppet or a bodysuit or makeup, everything will be practical.
You're currently in the Indiegogo campaign,
Yes.
For people who are interested in helping out with that, or interested in learning more about the film, where can they go to find that information?
Yes. So we have a Facebook page up for What Dwells Beneath. All you have to do is look up What Dwells Beneath film, and it should come right up. The Indiegogo is the same thing. You should be able to just look up What Dwells Beneath. I think we've got some really cool perks for people that do want to contribute to the film. We have perks as low as $10. If you're just rooting for us and you want to help us get there, every little bit helps. But we have some really cool perks too, like the signed DVDs, the signed posters and things, and then the Adopt a Monster and the Sponsor a Monster perk, where you can sponsor one of our monsters if you so choose, help feed and water and home these monsters. They're a lot to keep up with and care for. Or you can adopt a monster of your symbolically adopt a monster of your very own. You will get adoption papers, regular update photos of your monster as it's being brought into the world. And then once the movie wraps, you will actually receive a screen used piece of your monster.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great experience.
Yeah, just a little something for the horror lovers out there. I know I would like getting, I do have screen used memorabilia.